on Ian versus Daddy Bones, we're still hanging out in the sewers of Eternia, talking about the allies and assholes of Turtles of Grayskull.
Fuck Ian Daddy Bones. Fuck Twin Widow, whatever the hell it is. No one gives a shit about you, Ian. Everyone hates you. Fuck off.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a banger and you're all invited. Share with friends and I'll see you later. Bring everyone, invite my haters. Throw your hands in the fucking air. Let's push a cripple down a flight of stairs. Got new shit right for your ears. My Hadouken is downright fierce. Rock out with my cock out. Jump around, I got your shout outs. I'm Daddy Bones, no need to panic. Talking riddles like a schizophrenic.
Welcome back! It's another exciting episode of Ian versus Daddy Bones. I am Ian Daddy Bones. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. If you're watching on YouTube and Facebook, hey everybody, what's going on? As always, I got a special high five and a nut dab to all my Facebook and Patreon subscribers, supporting the brand, going the extra mile, getting access to bonus content, like brand new bonus content, kicking off the month of June. I cracked open Masterverse Thunder Punch He-Man. He's dope as fuck, and you can watch the bonus video right now for $2 on Facebook, $3 on the Patreon. Support the brand. Much love, and thank you very much to everybody that does, especially y'all that have been rolling with me since episode 1. But today on the show, I am continuing with the Turtles of Grayskull line from Mattel, the Masters of the Universe and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover line. I already did one episode where I focused on 3 of the deluxe characters that I was able to find so far: Slaker, Krang, and Mouse Jaw. I keep wanting to call him Mousetrap, but I can't because they called him Mouse Jaw because I believe Hasbro owns the name Mousetrap for like board games. So even though it would be a better name for the character, unfortunately we're stuck with Mouse Jaw. So I talked about the 3 deluxe characters. Then last week's episode, I finally got a brand new box of Ian in the mail. All my pile of loot that I've been accumulating since, honestly, at this point, the end of February, because at the end of February was when I first bought the Ken from Street Fighter figure, and he's been in my pile of loot since February, and I wound up grabbing my Turtles of Grayskull Wave 2 was in that pile of loot. My Wave 13 Masterverse was in that pile of loot, plus my daughter Sadie. I got her a Rainbow Bright because they had a 40th anniversary Rainbow Bright doll available that I wanted to make sure Sadie had, because with my daughters, you know, I got a 3-year-old daughter, I got a 13-year-old daughter, and I got a 23-year-old daughter. So I have 3 daughters with, you know, gaps between them. And, you know, when Julia was my only daughter, Julia was raised, you know, on Harry Potter and Star Wars, you know, with the prequel trilogies and whatnot. I got Julia into Star Wars and Harry Potter. My daughter Natalia was, you know, going from baby to age 1, 2, and 3 when My Little Pony Friendship is Magic was blowing up. So Natalia was my Little Pony daughter. But right now with Sadie, my 3-year-old, I don't want to say current, like I'm planning on having another one. I'm fucking done with that. But I got my 3-year-old, but my 3-year-old Sadie, you know, I got her, you know, into Masters of the Universe because there was that CG Netflix animated series on during the pandemic that came out in 2021. So we were watching that. Like, that was a brand new animated Masters of the Universe series that was aimed at today's kids. So what better way to get my daughter Sadie into Masters of the Universe than with a brand new series that totally gets to break the shit down. And now she's getting into Ninja Turtles because of the Mutant Mayhem movie that we bought since it was available digitally. We bought that, so we've been watching Mutant Mayhem a lot. So, you know, I got my daughters are into different things, so it's like, with her being into He-Man and being into Ninja Turtles, like, she's also into, like, girly stuff, but for her, you know, at the age of 3, like, she's got Bluey that she watches a lot, Paw Patrol she watches a lot. She's getting into Spidey and His Amazing Friends. She likes Spider-Man, but at the same time, she also watches a lot of Gabby's Dollhouse. So that's like the, toddler-oriented stuff that it's aimed at. So she's got her little kid stuff that she's into, but when I saw that the Rainbow Bright was celebrating a 40th anniversary, I felt it was like the perfect thing that Sadie needed, Julia had her Harry Potter, and even too with like girly stuff. Like Julia was into Barbie. Julia had Barbies, but Julia was in the generation where Barbies were available, but so were Bratz dolls and other stuff for that generation. But when it comes to Barbie, Julia had her CG animated movie, like Barbie Swan Lake, Barbie Rapunzel, Barbie Fairytopia, and whatnot. And you're probably wondering, like, how the fuck do you know the names of all this shit? Because I had to buy them. I had to make sure, like, when I was contacting relatives or she wanted something for Christmas, I had to make sure it was acquired and we knew what we were looking for. And especially with all the times I spent yelling at Julia when she was younger, making sure she put the DVDs back in the cases, I definitely remember what the names of these fucking movies were, especially when we had to watch them over and over and over and over again. And it's weird because back in the day, they looked quite impressive when, you're watching the CG animated Barbie Rapunzel movie. But now you look back on it and it's like, this shit looks like it was made with PlayStation 2 graphics. Like, what the fuck? But I do want to say, I was talking about the Turtles of Grayskull when I was talking about the deluxe figures. The reason I bring that up is because I want to give a shout out real quick to my buddy Jim, because yesterday, Monday, I went to work, I came home from work, it laid my daughter Sadie down for a nap, and eventually I wound up crashing out myself for like an hour. And when I woke up from my nap, when Sadie woke up from her nap, I'm catching up on my messages, and Jim sends me a message, and he's like, dude, ... And then it said Jim sent a photo, and I opened up the photo, and Jim took a picture of his passenger seat in his car, which had 2 Turtles of Grayskull Mossman figures. And my initial reaction was, oh wow, that's awesome. And I sent him another message, like, lucky that he was able to find those in the wild. And then Jim replied back, yeah, I figured since we both needed them, I'd grab them. And I'm like, holy shit, one of those is for me? So he's like, yeah, so I'm going to link up with Jim tomorrow. So we officially now have Turtles of Grayskull Mossman. So when it comes to Turtles of Grayskull in the wild, I am currently hunting Merman. So Merman is who I'm going to be looking for in the wild, and yeah, it's part of the fun with this. Some of these are only available in stores. Some of them are available to pre-order online, and I'm definitely going to say, man, if you're a toy collector, take advantage of what you can do online. Pre-order what you can, because I know a lot of people that refuse to order and buy shit online because it takes away the fun of the toy hunt, but the reality is, no, it doesn't. If anything, all it does is add another layer and enhances it, because now you're not just relying on only having to check the stores to hope they have what you're looking for instead of wasting gas going all the way to a shop just to be disappointed in the long run if A, they don't have what you want, or B, they do have what you want but their prices are a little jacked, and then you get pissed off at the local business for how dare you sell something for $35 when I'm seeing it available online for $20. Sorry, that's why I ordered the shit online for $20, because I'm not gonna, no offense, I support small businesses and I got buddies that own toy shops and whatnot. But I'm trying to please my wife as it is, you know what I mean? My wife's already not happy with the toy collecting stuff, so I gotta spend as little as I can to make sure I'm getting what I want in the long run. So I'd rather spend $20 on a figure that I'm able to pre-order online, and then have it shipped to me once it arrives, instead of running around town like a chicken with my head cut off, hoping they have the one Turtles of Grayskull figure I'm looking for. But like I said, the box of Ian arrived, and in that box of Ian was my complete Wave 2 4 figures from Turtles of Grayskull, plus my Turtles of Grayskull Wave 3 Michelangelo, who showed up first before the other figures in Wave 3 of Turtles of Grayskull, but I can officially say right now, since I just shipped my pile of loot and had it arrive, I already have 3 items in the new pile of loot ready to ship when I'm ready to have them shipped, but the rest of the Wave 3 Turtles of Grayskull figures showed up. So my Wave 3 Turtles of Grayskull Tila, Casey Jones, and Skeletor showed up. So I'm going to be probably shipping them tomorrow, if not Thursday morning. So they will arrive next week. So I can continue going through Turtles of Grayskull. But today on the show, I'm going to take a little bit of Wave 1 and a little bit of Wave 2. And we're going to talk about some allies and assholes from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Masters of the Universe Turtles of Grayskull crossover line. Because basically we got, as of right now, since the pre-orders have officially arrived, they've been paid for, processed, they're sitting in my pile of loot, we're officially 3 waves deep into this Masters of the Universe crossover line with Turtles. And a basic understanding of the story is out there. Based on the mini comics that come with the figures, as of right now, there's like, I believe, 3 mini comics. There might be 4. I'm not sure which deluxe figures come with mini comics because I haven't opened anything yet. I'm basically remembering what I've seen get posted in various Masters of the Universe Facebook groups that I'm a part of. So some people have been doing like high-res scans of the mini comic pages so we know what's going on. And like I said, you know, and I'm going to go over this whenever I talk about Turtles of Grayskull, but like, the Turtles are fighting the Foot Soldiers in the Technodrome. And from what I understand now, it was Raphael's fault because he decided to go in headstrong instead of waiting for instructions. He just jumped right into action, and because of everything going on, it activated a portal that basically sucked everybody into the portal, pooped them out in Eternia in different locations, and the Turtles met up with... Well, before the Turtles met up with Man-at-Arms and Tila, now mind you, before I continue, I'm going based on mini-comic information that's been presented based on people who bought the figures, opened them up, and read the mini-comic. I will say, we're in June. This September 2024, Dark Horse Comics is going to be putting out a 4-issue Turtles of Grayskull comic book series, which is going to better flesh out this story and explain everything that's going on, how we got from point A to point B. But the gist of the story is when everybody got sucked into the portal, they all got farted out in Eternia and landed in different locations. But from what I understand, Shredder and Krang met Hordak and Skeletor first, and they started getting along, and the one, you know, plot element that's connecting the two of them together is the fact that the mutagen ooze and the slime in Eternia are basically like the same thing. So it's kind of like they combined their slimes, and Hordak showed Shredder and Krang the slime pit. Shredder and Krang augmented the Horde slime pit with like Baxter Stockman Dimension X technology to make a new Shredder slime pit. So in order to test it out, they went out there and first of all, they tested out the slime on Trapjaw. And because of the Mauser Baxter Stockman tech, it crossed over with Trapjaw, turning him into Mousejaw. So once they were like, holy shit, it works, then they went out to capture, and they went out and they wound up capturing He-Man, Ram-Man, and Moss-Man, and throwing the 3 of them in the slime pit. So to start off, we got mutated He-Man. Now this mutated He-Man figure, and again, I'm not opening these, I'm leaving these mint on an unpunched card. Turtles of Grayskull, He-Man. Unfortunately, I have the international version of this figure, which means there's no English text. There's no, I mean, there is, but there's multi-language text. But unfortunately, there's no description on the back to describe what's going on, which also means the mini comic itself is not going to have English text. That's like the one dumb thing with mini comics for the North American, Canadian versions and the European international versions, especially like when they get sent down to like Mexico and whatnot. There's no text in the comic books. Otherwise, they'd have to have every speech bubble be there like 3 different times to say what they're saying in 3 different languages. So it kind of fucking sucks, but basically, like I said, the back of the picture shows mutated He-Man after he emerged from the Shredder slime pit, and Shredder's standing there looking all victorious. And if you're having a hard time seeing this, don't worry, because before I started filming, I put up a Facebook reel where I took up close front and back shots of all 4 of these figures. So you can go check that out if you want to look at the art. But shout out to Roy Juarez and his design team over at Mattel. Again, y'all fucking kill it with every figure that comes out. I don't care if it's Masterverse, Origins, Turtles of Grayskull, and even Cartoon Collection. These guys knock it out of the fucking park, and they deserve to be followed on social media. So go check out Roy Juarez. But yeah, it shows He-Man looking pretty badass. Now, this version of He-Man is purple, like a purplish blue. He kind of looks like Gatorade, you know what I mean? And like a berry flavored Gatorade. But he's got the blue skin. He's got like a, I don't want to say fluorescent yellow, but it's not exactly fluorescent green. It's like a blend between the two. But he's got his bright ass greenish yellow hair, and he's rocking his Johnny Lawrence fucking Cobra Kai black headband, looking pretty badass, like he's gonna frickin' crank up some winger and have a good time. But he's got his spiked bracelets, he's got his spiked He-Man belt, and he looks pretty badass. Now, he doesn't have a power sword. He comes with a grayish silver spiked mace, and I believe that's the spiked mace that actually comes with spike ore. It's just molded in a different color, and it might be a slightly different shape, but that's pretty similar to Spike Ore's mace that I opened up recently with both the Masterverse and the Origins version of Spike Ore. But yeah, you got mutated He-Man, which is interesting that they chose to do He-Man in this purple skin, because he's got like this green like lightning bolt veins on his arms. And what's interesting about him being blue is that, like, to me as a Masters of the Universe fan, I have Castle Grayskull, I have Snake Mountain, I have Eternia. So when it comes to remaining play sets, all we have left is the Fright Zone and the Horde Slime Pit. But we also have a new crowdfund that's beginning this fall for the Snake Lair that I plan on participating in. But a lot of Origins fans have been waiting. We've been waiting for the Slime Pit to get a release. And the Slime Pit hasn't came out yet. But it's interesting that the first glimpse of a Slime Pit even existing right now at retail is through this Turtles of Grayskull line. So I'd like to think at some point this Shredder Slime Pit is going to get released for Turtles of Grayskull. I want to have hope and believe, but then again, I feel the chances are pretty good, because who the hell would have known back in 2021 when they put out Flying Fist He-Man and Terror Claws Skeletor, when the artwork on the back showed Eternia for the first time in the toy line. Who the hell would have known? Who the hell would have thought that over the past 2.5 years that went from being revealed in art form to already being successfully crowdfunded and delivered to everybody who backed it? Like, anything could happen at this point with Masters of the Universe Origins and Turtles and Grayskull. But real quick, before I take a break, what I'm getting at is I find it interesting. It's a blue, slimed, mutated He-Man because when the slime pit came out back in the day, I got it when I was 7 years old. It was like one of my favorite birthday presents ever, and I played with that Horde slime pit like crazy when I was a kid. And now the mini comic that came with the original slime pit showed He-Man getting thrown in the slime pit, being slimed, and then we saw this green slime pit He-Man that was like very ogre-like, zombie-like, scary-like, and it was like pretty fucking rad, to use an 80s term, you know what I mean? To like see this version of He-Man, that was pretty badass before I was old enough to say badass without having one of my parents overhear it and me getting in trouble. So it was pretty fucking badass to see Slime Pit He-Man, but eventually down the line, like in the Classics line, they wound up making a Slime Pit He-Man, so they did put out a translucent green He-Man that looked like he just stepped out of the Horde slime pit. So I'm wondering if someday in the Origins line we're gonna actually get that green translucent slime pit He-Man. That would be pretty fucking dope. But they've been killing it with the translucent plastic on this Turtles and Grayskull. Like pretty much everybody who's been mutated is getting the translucent plastic treatment. And if you missed out on like the first run, chances are you're gonna get a figure from the second run, which from what I understand, some of these characters on their second run are actually getting a more solid, creamier color that's not as translucent and see-through. But we'll be right back. Alright, we're back here on Ian versus Daddy Bones, moving on with the Turtles of Grayskull, Wave 1 and 2, Allies and Assholes. Next, we got, from Wave 1, we got Man-at-Arms. Now, like I said, before I go on with Man-at-Arms real quick, going back to the story, like they captured Moss Man, they captured Ram Man, they captured He-Man, they threw them in the slime pit, they mutated them, they slimed them, now they turned them into obedient servants of Skeletor and Shredder, Krang, and Hordak. And now that's what happened with three of the masters who got kidnapped and turned into bad guys. The Ninja Turtles, on the other hand, came across Teela and Man-at-Arms, and Man-at-Arms and Teela basically explained to the Turtles that their friend He-Man was kidnapped, and their other friends were kidnapped by Skeletor and these weird-looking goons, actually, let me rewind that to a bit. I don't think they exactly knew the whole story, because there's another character. There's gonna be another Allies and Assholes episode once Teela and Casey Jones and Skeletor arrive, because I have Beastman still in a box, so those are going to be the next four figures I talk about. But basically, they're trying to find He-Man and see what's going on, and the Turtles are trying to find you know, the Turtles are like, well, if we're here in Eternia and we were fighting the Shredder, and that means the Shredder and Krang must also be here on Eternia. So, you know, they form an alliance, and basically they wound up swapping technology to a degree. Like, the Turtles get augmented, upgraded, and enhanced with, like, Eternian armor and technology. Like I said on the last episode, Donatello's kind of like Man-at-Arms. Michelangelo is like Flying Fist He-Man. Leonardo is like another version of He-Man because with the armor and the split twin katana power swords. And Raphael's got like extra Ram Man armor. So, you know, that's where the Turtles are augmented by the Grayskull tech. But with Man-at-Arms, his Grayskull armor is getting augmented and upgraded with Turtle tech. So, like, Donatello, like, gave Man-at-Arms some additional armor. Like he's got turtle shell knee pads, shin guards, shoulder pads, and Man-at-Arms himself even has his own turtle shell shield, which on one hand I kind of think is really dumb, but at the same time it makes sense because, you know, fucking Turtles of Grayskull and shit. So it makes sense, even though I kind of think they could have done a better job, but it is what it is. It's more of it's Man-at-Arms in his like normal Duncan orange Man-at-Arms armor, but it has more of a samurai feel to it, especially with, like, you know, the thigh armor on his belt, and with the how wider his chest armor is. So, and plus his helmet's more samurai looking on the sides. So he looks pretty fucking dope, but I don't know. I'm not really the biggest fan of Man-at-Arms variants. Like, I had snake armor Man-at-Arms for Origins, and I mean, he looked cool, but I didn't really need it. But it was one of those type of figures, well, if I don't buy him, he's gonna sell out, and then if I can't find him when he's sold out, I'm gonna be pissed. So I needed to grab him before he sold out. But we got Duncan, and yeah, and pretty much all the good guys are going to be, like on the Masters of the Universe side, are going to have like the Eternian upgrades, whereas the Turtles are going to have, the Masters are going to have like Turtle-based upgrades, where the Turtles are going to have Eternian-based upgrades. So that's where we get our swap with the good guys. But moving on, this is where it gets kind of cool, because it's one thing when you see how the Turtles and like the Masters of the Universe characters, the good guys, cross over. But when you start looking at the villain side, I mean, everybody loves the bad guys. Especially when they take old favorites, turn them into bad guys, and now you get to experience and enjoy this bad and evil version of a character who's supposed to be a good guy. So in wrestling terms, the Eternian babyface just turned heel. And with that said, we're going to start off with fucking Ram Man. Because Ram Man, I do gotta say, this package, this single peg release, feels very heavy compared to Man-at-Arms, which feels very light. You know what I mean? Ram Man's got some chunk to him. But again, Ram Man on an international card, and the back of the art shows Skeletor watching with joy as Ram Man leaps out of the slime pit, the Shredder slime pit, and Krang is holding Moss Man and He-Man captive as they're still tied up and bound together, which I kind of don't understand with Moss Man. Like, the dude could turn into fucking plants. Like, I don't know, I'm just thinking, if I'm fucking Moss Man and I'm tied up, and I'm like, oh no, He-Man and I are tied back to back, and Krang and Shredder got me stuck prisoner. Oh my god. What am I gonna do to get myself free? I don't know, maybe turn into a bunch of fucking vines, drop down and go into the ground? Boom, you're free. How hard is that? Maybe I should be fucking Moss Man. I don't know. But it just seems kind of dumb to me how like Moss Man is tied up with He-Man, and it's like, dude, you could easily eventually turn into fucking grass and just fall into the ground and then just slide across the other grass and then pop out with a fucking tree punch. I don't fucking understand it. So, anyway, Moss Man and He-Man are tied up. Krang's standing there laughing, and Moss Man's leaping out of the slime pit. And I gotta say, this version of of Ram Man, did I say Moss Man was jumping out of the slime pit? I meant to say Ram Man. But Ram Man, this version of Ram Man, I gotta say, is by far one of the coolest versions of Ram Man that I've ever opened. Now, normally, at one point, I would have been able to say, I've only opened one Ram Man figure in my life. And that was the Ram Man that I received when I was 4 years old, when I first got introduced to Masters of the Universe, because, you know what, it's funny, I could put the two of them together, but I got Man-at-Arms and Ram Man in the Turtles of Grayskull line, which, to me, runs it back to when I was a kid, getting my very first Masters of the Universe figures when I was 4 years old. That Christmas, the first two figures I ever had was Man-at-Arms and Ram Man, and it was the back of the card pictures of other characters available, and it was the mini comics inside. Looking at those pictures that got me hooked as a child, and fucking 40 years later, here I am, and it looks absolutely sick. Now, I do gotta say, like, while Ram Man was one of my first Masters of the Universe characters, he was never one of my favorites, you know what I mean? Like, once I got, like, He-Man and Skeletor and, like, other figures and stuff, looking back on Ram Man, he was kind of a shit character, because his arms didn't bend like everybody else's. He had like swivel arms, you know what I mean? And he had these like spring legs that pushed into his body, so he dropped down and got squat, and then he was able to jump up, and his legs would extend again, so he would jump. And you know, in the cartoon, he always had like the spring legs gimmick, where when he, it's not really spring legs that he has, it's more of the actual battering ram, but with the way that they had his like pants drawn and designed, he kind of looked like he had like spring legs, like it was stacked pipe tubing that was like a coil. So I totally get that, but at the same time, it looked totally stupid, you know what I mean? Like for me, having Ram Man, and then being a wrestling fan, and then when they came out with the Hasbro figures, being a fan of the Rockers, and then the Rockers came out in action figures, and the Rockers basically had the Ram Man gimmick, because Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, they pushed down and then they jumped up in the air. Like they had the fucking Ram Man gimmick in the fucking Hasbro line, and that's why I was so disappointed with the Rockers tag team figures in the Hasbro line back in the day. But since my childhood Ram Man, I have opened my Ram Man in Origins, who's pretty much just like the back in the day Ram Man, only this one has better arms, you know what I mean? So he's like more of a more articulated but still OG Ram Man. But then I have the Masterverse Ram Man, who is by far like the sickest Ram Man they ever put out. But at the same time, he's got some design flaws, because he's got like this rubbery, soft, spongy, squishy plastic piping around his leg plastic, and basically a lot of it's been prone to breaking, whether it's the leg itself or the piping, the stacked piping splitting. Like it, his legs look like it's a stack of donuts. So basically that little groove between the stack of donuts, it could split and tear and ruin your fucking leg, which is why I just have my Ram Man standing in my WWE Attitude Era ring, where he can't move, he can't fall over, he's not going to get touched, and he's perfectly fucking fine. And then I have the other Ram Man that I opened for my daughter Sadie, and she got Ram Mam, which was the female gender-swapped version of Ram Man for the CG Netflix He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And now, depending on what side of the political spectrum you stand, is going to determine how much Ram Man bothers you as a Masters of the Universe fan. Like me personally, I don't give a fuck about politics. I really don't. And because I don't give a fuck about politics, everybody just wants to label me a Democrat. It's all good. You can label me what you want. I mean, there's assholes on both sides, and that's it. I mean, doesn't matter what side I stand on. I could be on the side that either, praises your asshole, or be on the other side that holds their assholes accountable. I'd rather just stay in the middle and just vote for the lesser of two fucking assholes, because either way, we're all fucked in the end. But when Ram Man came out, this Masters of the Universe series was called woke. You know what I mean? Everything has to be woke. So, a lot of people bitched and complained about Ram Man, but when I got Ram Man for my daughter loves the damn figure. Like, it's a female Ram Man figure, but it's based on her design for the show. So she doesn't like pop down and jump. And because they focus, this Ram Man doesn't have like spring legs. This Ram Man has like shoes that got like rocket boosters on them. This Ram Man is wearing a ramming helmet that has a fucking ram stone on it. And she has a purpose, and she's more fleshed out as Ram Man than the original Ram Man character was in Masters of the Universe. The only thing they did with Ram Man over the years is they gave him a name and a little fleshed out backstory by the time the Classics line came out. Because that's why her name is Crass, because his name is Crass. So it's still fucking Ram Man at the end of the day, even if this universe timeline happens to be a girl. Like, with everything I know about variants and multiverses that's been shoved down my throat through Marvel over the past 4 years, I get it. And because I get it, I don't need to complain or bitch about it. This is the Ram Man for this universe, and this universe happens to be a female. But going to this Ram Man, holy shit, this guy looks fucking sick. Like, he looks super fucking chunky. He's got this purple translucent clear plastic, which makes me happy that I got a first run Ram Man, even though he's on an international card, so there's no description on the back. I can look at the pictures and know what's going on. So Ram Man's leaping into battle, jumping out of the slime pit. So, his mutated transformation, he's still rocking his Ram Man armor, only now there's more spikes on his shoulders, and his helmet, he now has actual ram fucking horns, like Skeletor's Havoc staff. So he's got ram horns on his head. He looks beefier and bigger. And unlike the Origins Ram Man figure, this motherfucker actually has articulated legs, bendable knees. So it's weird to me how we couldn't get Ram Man in Origins with this type of setup. Because this is like perfect. Like, I feel this Turtles of Grayskull Ram Man figure is better than the Origins Ram Man figure that was based on the original vintage 80s Ram Man figure that I got when I was 4. But Ram Man's legs were always like the weak part of the OG figure. His swivel arms were always a weak part of the figure. Because to a degree, Ram Man was one of those characters that could only use the Ram Man buck. Like, nobody else could use that Ram Man buck. And I believe at one point they even tried reusing the Ram Man buck for another character that I believe had tusks on his chest. I don't remember the name of him off the top of my head. He might have gotten a release. I believe he got a release through Classics, and that they started using Ram Man as a base when creating this character. But this Ram Man figure looks absolutely sick. Like I said, complete chunk. And there is a second run of the Ram Man figure that has a more solid purple milk looking appearance with the plastic. But it's still somewhat translucent. But I don't know why they did that or what's going on. My only suggestion is going to be, because of the type of plastic. Because I know for a fact, especially going to the Masters of the Universe Classics line, like, the Green Goddess version of Teela in her snake armor was first released as a figure in the Masters of the Universe Classics line. That Green Goddess was made from the translucent clear plastic, but because of that, certain points in the joints, she was super fucking brittle. Like basically, on like the thigh peg where her legs are supposed to move, apparently that's prone to cracking and having her legs snapped off. And I even know that some people that bought the Skeleton Warriors 2-pack that came out last year for Masters of the Universe Origins, I've even seen some pictures in groups where dudes have posted pictures where their figures fell off the shelf, landed on the ground, and because of the translucent plastic, they cracked and broke because it's so fucking brittle because of the translucency. So, on one hand, it's like, if you get the translucent Ram Man, consider yourself lucky. I'd leave him in the package because chances are if you take him out and he drops, he's probably going to break. So if you get the more solid purple Ram Man, chances are you're going to have a more longer lasting figure in case he does drop. But yeah, this Ram Man looks absolutely sick. I'm glad to have finally found him. Like I said, I've had him pre-ordered, and I do want to say real quick before I head out of here for another break, I do notice on the packaging for Turtles of Grayskull, what I find interesting is the good guys have Leonardo and He-Man in the top corners on the packaging, and on the villain cards, you got Shredder and Skeletor in the corner. But the one thing I find interesting is that Leonardo is in his Turtles of Grayskull getup for the artwork. He-Man is still in his normal, non-mutated form. Shredder is in his Turtles of Grayskull getup, but Skeletor is not wearing his Turtles of Grayskull armor that he's going to get in the third wave of figures. We're back on Ian versus Daddy Bones. I got one more figure to go, and then we're gonna wrap up this show. But one thing I want to talk about real quick. Something got brought to my attention yesterday. Lego made a post where Lego announced that they're gonna be releasing the Lego Tuxedo Cat. They're gonna be putting out a Tuxedo Cat Lego kit, so you're gonna be able to brick build from what I understand, an actual life-size cat out of Legos. So it just has me thinking, like, are they just doing the Tuxedo Cat? Are they gonna come out with other cats? Because I think this could be fucking great. You know what I mean? For like crazy cat ladies, instead of having a bunch of real cats taking up your house, you could buy a Lego cat and brick build a Lego cat. What if your cat dies? Are they going to have other cats available in the future? Like I have freshly squeezed orange Cassidy, or orange cat that we have at home that, you know, sometimes we call them Bobos. So what if Bobos passes away? Am I going to be able to buy a Lego orange cat that I'm going to be able to build and put together? Like, I think that would be great, you know? Some people like getting their cat stuffed and shit. I think that's kind of fucking gross, but I wouldn't mind, like, buying a freaking Lego cat, and I'm just thinking it'd be kind of cool too on the bad days, you know? Like, you have a bad day at work, and you come home and you're just so frustrated, you just want to punch a hole in the wall. I mean, I don't do that shit. I mean, I know usually kids named Kyle get mad and they punch holes in the wall and fucking sheetrock, and whatnot. So I wouldn't want to destroy my own personal property, but I feel if I buy a Lego cat, and especially for like gamers, like how many of y'all rage quit and like throw your controller and shit because, you know, you suck at Fortnite and Call of Duty and shit, and you like throw your controller and break your controller. Now you're assed out, you gotta go buy a new controller so you can play your fucking video game again because you sucked so bad the first time you forgot about it, lost your shit, threw your shit, broke your shit. Now you had to go out and buy new shit just so you can sit back on your ass, play Fortnite or Call of Duty, and proceed to fucking suck again. So don't take it out on your controller. Don't take it out on your wall. Take it out on your Lego cat. Next time you want to rage quit, just stand the fuck up and just boot that fucking Lego cat right across the room. Kick it as hard as you fucking want and just watch that Lego cat fly and just shatter into fucking pieces. That's honestly what I want to do. I want to get one of these Lego cats just so I can fucking put it together and then boot that shit across the room. So if you want to donate to the Patreon or the Cash App, what's in the corner, you could throw me some chips because it's my birthday month. Or you can even subscribe to the Facebook for $2 or the Patreon for $3. Either way, help me get that Lego cat, and I will build that fucking Lego cat on Ian versus Daddy Bones strictly for the purpose of kicking that fucking thing across the room. But back to the show. Last but not least, we got the Shredder. The penultimate Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles villain. I mean, right? Or I don't know, what's the pecking order? Does Krang work for Shredder, or does Shredder work for Krang? Because sometimes in the video games you fight Krang first and you fight Shredder last, but sometimes you fight Shredder first and you fight Krang last. But I could be wrong on that, because like in the Ninja Turtles arcade game, like you fought that like giant fucking Krang head first. But Shredder and Krang together are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' greatest foes. And this figure officially shows us Shredder's look in Turtles of Grayskull. And seeing pictures of the figure online is one thing. Holding him in your hand and looking at him up close is something completely different. Now, it's weird to me because it's like Shredder, evil master of ninjutsu. And the Shredder figure is supposed to be a Ninja Turtles character that has elements from Masters of the Universe added to his overall design for the purpose of fitting the crossover and having it make sense. Now, for the most part, like, if I cut the top of this off and got rid of the Turtles of Grayskull and Masters of the Universe sticker on the front, an average Ninja Turtle fan would just think this is a Shredder figure. You know what I mean? So, at close inspection, it's like, well, what exactly makes this Masters of the Universe like? Well, for starters, it's the 5.5-inch scale. It's the 16 points of articulation on the Shredder figure. And with his purple armor, it's actually based on Skeletor's armor. Because it's got the bone going around it, and it even and Skeletor has like this, like, I don't want to call it a sunburst, but it's like kind of like a bat-like wing blast design, like a burst shape with points on it. So he's got those, and like basically with the shape of it, it kind of looks like, you know, like Black Panther's in his Black Panther suit, but then he's got like that necklace where it's got like the pointy teeth, or like he's wearing a necklace, and that's basically what it looks like. So he basically has Skeletor inspired armor, but it's totally shredded the fuck out, and it looks sick. And in my honest opinion, based on, and I'll even put it up closer at an angle so hopefully there's no glare, up close with the silver armor, like the spikes on his arms, not necessarily his helmet, but basically on his legs and his shoulders and his arms, like, to a degree, some of Shredder's armor reminds me of the armor that the Triple H figure was wearing in the Masters of the WWE Universe line. Because that Triple H figure was wearing long purple pants with the 3 H's on it. He had his silvery gray plastic spikes on his arms, and he had his King of Kings skull crown. And I even had Shredder vibes looking at that Triple H figure. Because for it being Masters of the Universe crossing over with WWE, I had Shredder vibes just looking at the Triple H figure. It was like they based Triple H on Shredder and Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat, especially with him having that fucking giant fucking hammer. Like, he totally had Shredder and Shao Kahn vibes. So now that I see this official Shredder figure with Masters of the Universe and Turtles of Grayskull crossover, I'm getting total Triple H vibes with this instead of I'm getting more Triple H vibes than Skeletor vibes with this Shredder. But I do think it's safe to say that in appearances alone, this Shredder figure is one of the best Shredder figures I think they ever put out. For any Ninja Turtle toy line over the years, like with the exception of like NECA lines that NECA is kind of doing with the Ninja Turtles license what Masters of the Universe within Masterverse is doing within the different sub-brands. Like, you got the cartoon Turtles, you got the arcade Turtles, you got the movie Turtles, you got the 2003 Turtles, the 2012 Turtles, you know what I mean? The Mutant Mayhem Turtles, the Michael Bay movie Turtles. So you got a whole multiverse of Ninja Turtles going on at the same time within these universes and separate brands. But for the purpose of crossing them over together, been having a lot of fun with it. And that's the thing. Like, this Shredder figure looks absolutely sick, especially when compared to other Shredder figures that have come out over the years. Like, with the BST AXN Loyal Subjects line, like, I tried getting into that. Like, I got my 4 Turtles, I got my Deluxe Krang, I got Shredder, I got Casey Jones, I got my Foot Soldier, I have my Bebop, I believe. I have either Bebop or Rocksteady, one of the two. I think I have Bebop, it's Rocksteady I need. But I kind of fell behind in that because the quality was kind of shitty. I mean, the quality was good, but, I mean, if you're collecting them, but like if I was to like give one of these Loyal Subjects BST AXN Ninja Turtle figures to my kid, she won't be able to play with those. Like, even trying to take them out of the package, like the fucking legs popped off the hip joint, and it's like, oh my god, like I don't even know how this is supposed to hold up being played with if just removing it from its plastic prison, it's falling to pieces. But even the Shredder figure I got in that line was like one of the worst figures I think I've bought since I collected toys. And I don't like mean that too negatively, but like, you know, for being the Ninja Turtles' main bad guy, he was super fucking dainty, thin. His arms were so skinny, like it made me so nervous to try and bend the arms, like when trying to get Shredder to stand up. Like, it felt like a poorly made figure. And just in my mind, remembering what it was like opening up that Shredder figure on Ian versus Daddy Bones. And at this point, I'm pretty sure that it's bonus footage up on available for the Patreon subscribers. But it was such a shitty Shredder figure that once like I got Shredder and Casey Jones, I think I was done with that line. Like, if I see the ones I don't have that I need, I may grab them just to complete it. But I think if I stumble upon them, I'm not going to go out of my way looking for them. I kind of think I'm done with the BST AXN line. But even comparing this Shredder to like the vintage 80s original Shredder figure, like that original Shredder figure, while impressive for being the first Shredder figure, it actually fucking sucked. Based on like how limited articulation and posability you had with that Shredder figure, it was like he was always like crouching down and hunched over at the same time. and it was like this weird thing where he's like wearing pants, but he's like not really wearing a shirt, but he's got all this armor and his helmet that you kind of really don't notice he's naked from chest to neck. But you know, that Shredder figure is kind of, I mean, well, on one hand, it holds a special spot in a lot of people's hearts because that was the first Shredder figure a lot of us ever had. As time went on, they put out better Shredder figures. And not only did they put out better Shredder figures, but then they started putting out Super Shredder figures. So it's like, you can get a Shredder or you can get a Super Shredder, and I feel like this Masters of the Universe Shredder is your basic Shredder, but being presented as Super Shredder, because this looks like a fucking Super Shredder. He looks absolutely amazing. He's got this big ass gray silver axe. He has a black version of the generic crossbow that comes with every member of the evil horde. They all come in different colors, and it's not any different for Skeletor, even though he's not a member of the evil horde. But yeah, this Skeletor figure looks really great, and like I said, as far as like quality control, you know, some people have already reported breakage issues with not only Ram Man, but the recently released Moss Man was prone to breaking and cracking when dropped. And when it comes to Skeletor, I haven't heard many issues about Skeletor except elbow and like bicep joints. It's like where his shoulder armor is up on his shoulders, like where it is on his bicep, you got where it bends, but you also have where it pops in on the peg, but you also have the swivel on the bicep. Now it's that swivel peg on the bicep that's been known to cracking and breaking. So some people are accidentally breaking Skeletor's right arm off the figure. So if you get these and you plan on opening them, I would highly recommend get a hair dryer, put it on like your lowest heat setting, and just wave it over your fucking figure for a little bit. Warm him up to the point to where you can naturally move his joints without forcing them, because sometimes forcing them will cause them to break, and it's just the little things you learn along the way. You figure it out on your own when you break a fucking character, or you pick up tips and advice from other collectors in online groups and chats and discussions and whatnot. But for the most part, there we go. Allies and Assholes. The first part of Allies and Assholes as I continue with Turtles of Grayskull. We got Mutated He-Man, Man-at-Arms, Ram-Man, and the Shredder. Next episode, I'm going to be talking about the remaining Allies and Assholes from Waves 2 and 3. I'm going to be talking about Casey Jones, Skeletor, Teela, Beastman, and for Patreon subscribers, I'm going to do a quick video where I'm going to talk about Moss Man, but at the same time, I'm not sure. It just popped into my head. I may include Moss Man in the next episode. But talking about the way those characters and figures with Turtles of Grayskull, that is not going to take place on the next episode. The next episode is going to be my birthday celebration episode. It might be a two-part event because I am taking the final week of the month off just in case I need to turn this into a two-part event. But I'm going to be doing another brick build, and for my birthday, to celebrate turning 45 years fresh, I am going to be building the Mega Masters of the Universe He-Man's Power Sword. So until next time, cheers, Pete!
Fuck Ian Daddy Bones. Fuck Twin Widow, whatever the hell it is. No one gives a shit about you, Ian. Everyone hates you. Fuck off.
Oh my god, I'm so excited, having a banger and you're all invited. Share with friends and I'll see you later. Bring everyone, invite my haters. Throw your hands in the fucking air. Let's push a cripple down a flight of stairs. Got new shit right for your ears. My Hadouken is downright fierce. Rock out with my cock out. Jump around, I got your shout-outs. I'm Daddy Bones, no need to panic. Talking riddles like a schizophrenic. 24/7, I got the party. Roofie-roos and whoop-de-doos. Retarded fools with attitudes, bro. Everything's mixed with Bacardi. Glow stick black like tons of bubbles. Titties on bitches, nothing but trouble. Got my pills, ain't no quitter. Pop that shit, here comes my glitter. Not a dancer, I got no skills. Bobbing my head and standing still. Tons of bitches, ravers, goths. Down to fuck and get your salad tossed. It's the greatest thing that you ever saw. Put your hands in the air for a party. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a bang and you're all invited. Dickheads posing, muscles flexing, trainings dressed like your favorite X-Men. If there's one thing that drives me crazy, you give high fives but you fucking hate me. Might have rabies, might have herpes. Breastfeed me and you'll have to burp me. I'll be up on stage, throwing out beads, grabbing my dick and spraying my seed all over your face. That's fucking rude. Raise it up and show your boobs. Dance around and go friggin' nuts. Just b-boy stance and light your blunts. Don't be a cunt. Tuck your chain, don't start no shit. Use your brain, it's all a game. Let's play some Yahtzee, eat Tide Pods and punch a Nazi. Not a dancer, I got no skills. Bobbing my head and standing still. Tons of bitches, ravers, goths. Down to fuck and get your salad tossed. It's the greatest thing that you ever saw. Put your hands in the air for a party. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Having a bang and you're all invited.